Hi everybody and welcome to the leaflet module. Now I've seen tons of leaflets across my time in property, and I see them on forums, and I actually run a thread critique on the progressive community just about leaflets, because there's tons out there, there's loads. The point of leaflets and marketing is because it's relatively inexpensive to do, but it can cost you lots because it can get painful if you spend too much. So what I'm trying to do in this module is just go through a leaflet design, a little critique. I'll put a few slides up so you can see some examples, and you can actually have from this module. We'll put a link on this thing. You can have 50 different templates of leaflet. But first of all, people tell me across the community, across the forums, across the groups, that leaflets and bandit boards and all, it doesn't work. They've been telling me this for about 15 years now, and they tell me almost daily, "Oh, I tried some leaflets, Mark, and they didn't work." Well, if you follow some simple steps, they will work. If you get it completely wrong, they won't work and they'll cost you money. And the money is out of your own pocket, so it'll get painful quick. And I'll just give you an example. My guys were leafleting a town called Northampton a little while ago, and I had 4 guys on the ground at the time doing a small patch, and we got a phone call from one of the guys saying that this guy's carpet bombing the area. And he was. We reckoned, and this is only a guess, we reckon he was putting 20,000 leaflets down in a small patch every week. So he's spending money to put 80,000 leaflets a month on a small patch. I mean, it might as well have dropped him out of an aeroplane. So my guys on the ground started to flap a little bit and think, we're not going to get any business because this guy's carpet bombing the area. And we try to be rational about it. Calm down, it's all right. Just keep doing our stuff, and our stuff is really small. Go into it on another module, how we do it. But we watched this guy, and he did it week 1, 20,000, week 2, 20,000, week 3, 20,000, week 4, 20,000, week 5, 20,000. Now we got to week 7, and suddenly they stopped. And the reason they stopped is it was getting painful financially for him. And our guy, we were just carrying on. We were doing 4,000 leaflets a month. We're just putting them down, nice and easy. It takes about a day to put 1,000 leaflets down. We do the same day every week, which is a Tuesday, because on a Tuesday there's no junk mail going in the rest of the houses. Ours is the only leaflet that hits the doormat apart from the letters. And we just carried on doing our 1,000 every week, and we picked up all his leads. And the reason we picked up all his leads is because he was working for us, really, he just didn't know it. Because carpet bombing and spending tons on marketing doesn't work. So I'll show you in this module how to set the leaflets up, because which leaflet do you use? There's tons of them around, and there's ugly leaflets and plain leaflets and regular leaflets and handwritten leaflets, and there's all sorts. Which ones do you choose? Well, on this slide there are 2 different types. There's the ugly leaflet on the left. That's generally handwritten. Now it's not handwritten as in we write it out, it's actually handwriting font. So because it's got to be legible, even though it looks scruffy, it's got to be legible. Now on the other side of the page or the slide is a regular leaflet. And I'll show you exactly how to set them out in a second, but do we notice the difference? One's handwritten, one's regular. The picture's a little bit irrelevant, it doesn't matter too much about a picture, but I'll show you how to do the layout of a leaflet. And this kind of model works for newspaper advertising, it works for leaflets or messages or boards or any type of marketing message you want to get out there. And marketers have used it across the planet for decades even, so we'll go through that model. Now, the colour, you'll notice they're both yellow. And I've put them both yellow because, just to emphasise, it doesn't matter what the colour is at this point. On the ugly leaflet, we use yellow because there's a chap, he was an Australian guy called Rick Otten, you might have heard of him. He came over in, I think, around 2002, and he used yellow leaflets. So now we all use yellow leaflets. It's a kind of a tradition thing, but it could be pink, it could be orange, it could be bright green. It doesn't really matter. But just to emphasise that the colour doesn't make that much of a difference. So here's the model then. The model is, and this is the one to follow, is AIDA. AIDA, and it's been used by marketers across the planet, as I said, for decades. A is attention, I is interest, D is desire, A is action. And I'll go into more detail on each one of them. And an A for attention, that's an attention grabber. Your headline of your message has to grab their attention. So sell your house fast in 28 days. Get an offer on your house within 48 hours. Something that grabs their attention if they're a potential customer. Yeah, I is for interest. We've got to pique their interest, and that's using benefits to them of contacting you. And all we're after is the phone call at this point. We're not trying to do a deal with them, just after the phone call. So pique their interest. Bullets are quite good, tick box bullets are quite good to use on I. Now, D is for desire. We've got to raise desire before we ask them to do something. Raising desire, and we quite often use the word free. Free is a great word to use because the whole of the internet is based on the word free. So free consultation, no fees, no obligation, all that sort of stuff is great to raise desire. So the A is action, and that's a call to action, sometimes called CTA, a call to action. Now, a call to action on a leaflet, hard marking on the ground, is just one call to action. A lot of people I see, they put their websites and they put their email addresses and they put mobiles and they put text and they put a number. Forget it all. It's got to be simple. It's got to be one call to action. All I want from this leaflet, from this message, is a phone call. So just one call to action. And some people ask me, is a mobile okay, or an 0800 number, or 0845, or a non-geographic number? Well, back in the, I think it's probably the 90s, we all got 0800 numbers because it increased the sales calls into the business. Now, they're a bit of a gimmick nowadays, and I don't think anyone really believes they're free. So I wouldn't use 0800 numbers. There's not really any point, because we're actually operating on a small patch. We want to be the local guy on the ground that does property deals for people that want to get out of their property, not a multinational or a national company. So the thing about the mobile is really odd, because everyone's got mobiles nowadays. But when I've put mobiles or seen mobile numbers on leaflets, the numbers always look a bit obscure because the codes are all different and hard to remember, and the numbers are all different and hard to remember. And people split numbers up on mobiles in different places. They don't use a code and then a number. What they do is split them in 2s or 3s, and everyone seems to be different. Whereas with a local number, and let's say an 01604 code, the people of Northampton will know that 01604 is their code. So you don't actually have to remember that number. And then most people split the code, 01604, and then the rest of the numbers got a space between it. That's easy to remember. So all we've got to do is remember 6 numbers. So I'd use a local number on my leaflets all the time. So let's look at the layout of a leaflet. And this slide shows this is just a model, a template. It's not a real leaflet yet, but it's good to describe how the layout works. So offering your property in 48 hours, that's the attention grabber. Now, it doesn't say I'm going to buy the property in 48 hours, it just says offer, which I can make in 48 hours. So that's the attention grabber. And the next part is the interest. So the interest, and I'll read these out off here. Purchase agreed within 7 days, completion on a date to suit, solutions to suit, you can clear your debts, make a fresh start. That's the peak in interest. If someone's in debt or they want to get out of a property, that's piquing their interest. And then raising desire. And I'll just read these off. Local company, free valuation, free legals, free advice, all circumstances considered. So that's raising desire for the phone call. And then the last thing, again, is the call to action, 01604. And this is a gold number, 506060. So there's the template of a leaflet. That's just one leaflet. We can split test them in a second. I'll go to that in another module. So once you've got your template done, or once you can use mine if you want to, they're available in the community. When you've got your template, that can be sent to a designer, and then they can lay it out in a nice graphic designer way, a nice lovely way. But that's just the template. Now, there's another little thing that I've added onto here, or even 2 things on this particular slide. We've created what's called a vignette. And a vignette is a surround, a dark surround that's light in the middle. You notice from this template that the middle part of the leaflet is light and the surround is dark. And what that does, and artists and photographers have used this for centuries, is a dark surround draws the eye into the middle of the message and keeps and protects the message from the noise around it. So if you imagine a TV screen, it's dark, generally speaking, is dark on the outside, keeps you involved in the screen. A picture that's framed, dark on the outside, light in the middle. Computer monitors, dark on the outside, generally speaking, and PowerPoint presentations, dark on the outside, light in the middle. The vignette works to protect your message from the outside. Now, once we've got our template done, and then we've sent it to a designer to get it designed, and we've actually got our leaflet, we can start playing and split testing. Split testing is changing one thing on a leaflet and testing and adjusting to see which gets the better response. So on this particular one, and I've got a slide here for you, on the last one it was offering your property in 48 hours. On the next one it's, are you tired of paying your mortgage? And all we've changed is one thing. And we're split testing out on the same patch with the same delivery guys, with the same houses, and we're seeing which one gets us a better response. Because leaflets do go dry and they do get tired, so we just change them, just one thing each time. Now, on this one, next one, want to sell your house quickly. So that's another split tested leaflet. And what we do is we just gauge and measure the numbers, so it's small, test, measure, adjust accordingly out on the patch. Now, we learned one thing about, or this particular point, a couple of years ago, and it was if you put the word repossession at the top of your leaflet in the headline, it virtually cuts your response rate by 2/3. So we don't want the word repossession in there because in reality it takes around 9 months for a bank to get a house back off a homeowner if they fall into late payments or they miss payments. And over those 9 months, sometimes people put their head in the sand and they don't want to admit they're in a repossession process, but they actually are. So if they don't admit to themselves, they certainly won't call us. So I'd leave that word repossession out of the title of the leaflet. So that's the leaflet produced. You design and produce it in your model, AIDA, and you might be thinking, well, didn't we discuss ugly leaflets as well? Well, ugly leaflets, what they are is they're still following the AIDA model exactly the same. They're handwritten, so they look ugly, and they're not using the vignette technique, but they're using another technique, which is the bright coloured paper. That's what protects the viewer's eyes, or your message from all the noise around it is the bright coloured paper that attracts the attention. So it's a slightly different technique, but it still follows the AIDA model. So as long as you're following the AIDA model, AIDA, on your template, on your layout, you'll start to get calls. So your leaflets will work.